given access to receive messages of clarity, guidance, and love. As channeler, psychotherapist, and author, Noemi Grace has an intimate dialogue with the divine on your behalf. Lisa Berry intuitively listens and expresses the deep questions on people's hearts and elevates the conversation, while Noemi Grace channels divine wisdom and expansive answers to your deepest questions. Each show's themes are related to self-love, self-healing, relationships, and personal struggles, offers tools that will lead to sacred stability and help you find your best solutions. Join us now as we give you access to angels and grace. Hello, everyone. Yes, access to angels and grace. And today, not only access, but there's a lot of messages being delivered today for just everyone. And Noemi, you and I have been like, wow, this message came through and that message and this. So today is definitely a message about
the messes. The messages about the messes.
We gotta love it. Yes, and let's just share with everybody today's topic. We'll say the title is "Stop Resisting the Messes in Your Life. They are catalysts for your growth." And Noemi, before I go in and read that, this was something you brought forward, and I just immediately jumped on this one. I was like, "Yes, we need messages about messes." And since you've highlighted the being messy, just share with us as we go into this what that's really what did that look like for you, just in general, so we can identify right away.
Well, I can tell you how this came about, and I've told you already, Lisa. But I was taking my morning walk, and there was a certain neighbor that had a lot of growth in their property, and they cut down the trees, and I was like, But then they made such beautiful landscaping of other trees and flowers and rocks in there, and they did such a beautiful job. So I look forward to this place, and as I'm going on a loop, I look forward to seeing their property. I was walking by that, thinking about how beautiful that was, and all of a sudden, thinking about beauty, I just leave the property and I walk, and out loud comes out of my mouth something I didn't expect. And it was, "I'm a mess." And I was like, was that me? Where'd that come from? I wasn't thinking. It wasn't like I was thinking negative thoughts and judging myself. There I was, reflecting on their beauty and then feeling like a mess. And I thought, wow, this is really interesting. So when I said that, I said, did I say that? And as I'm walking, I'm sometimes talking to the divine, and I'm going to look up the answer they said, because it was just so unbelievable. They said, so I said, "I'm a mess." And the answer was, "Wonderful." And I'm like, "What do you mean wonderful?" And they said, we create masterpieces like diamonds out of messes. So are you ready to be a masterpiece? And I said, "Oh yeah, sure." But then I thought about it, and I after that message, I started to find myself in kind of a resistant mode in the next few days. And I'm like, "What's going on?" And then I was in my spiritual community group, and one of our beautiful soul Marie-Patrice said something, and I realized I'm resisting being a masterpiece. Maybe that's a little too big for me. I don't want to be a mess, but do I have to be a masterpiece? I want something like in the middle. And yet that, to me, that speaks to the nature of us, of human. We're messy, but we also have mastery somewhere in us. We have things we've mastered. We have beauty. We have gifts, so much within us, and it's that dichotomy that's really part of being human. But so when I shared it with Lisa, she's like, "Yes, the mess." I mean, you were so enthusiastic, and so that's how we got here. And I must say, I have realized that I have quite a tolerance for mess, so I don't even realize that there's mess.
Oh, good word. A tolerance too. Mm-hmm. And I just love that you shared that, say, hey, well, okay, wait a second. I don't want to be a mess, but I don't know about being a masterpiece quite yet. So that was really honest. That I like that. And it's buzzing right now. Everybody's like, oh yeah, here we go. Let's see about this. But this is the show description that we wrote because we really do think it's going to connect with you. I'll share it. Have you ever avoided or resisted the messes in your life? And what did it cost you? Sometimes life gets messy, and our natural tendency is to either avoid or resist the mess. We might share with others that there are issues, conflicts and challenges in our lives, but we avoid facing them, let alone cleaning them up. It can seem much easier to deny that they impact us in any way than to address them. Sometimes it can seem daunting to address the mess, especially when it's something that's very integrated into our lives. So we get uncomfortable with avoiding and resisting. And over time, we get skilled at not dealing and justifying our position. But we also deny ourselves the opportunity for growth and the gifts that come with it. Each mess in our lives can be a catalyst for us to become more of who we truly are. Being willing to be with the mess and give it the cleanse it's calling for creates space for many gifts to reveal themselves. And I love these gifts. There are 5 of them. And I will list them because we're going to talk about each one. But we are free to choose what's best for us instead of perpetuating our struggles. We become flexible instead of rigid or stuck. We experience ease and flow instead of stagnation. We stop doubting ourselves and our confidence grows. And opportunities we never imagined present themselves. So hopefully I've just, sold the idea of this cleanse and this cleaning up. But, Noemi, as I wrap that up, I said, all these gifts are available to us. And for the cost of addressing the mess, it's so interesting because at first when you and I were talking about these, we said, I was like, yeah, you know what? Cleaning up a mess feels like punishment. But when we highlight that we are actually just preparing and making room for something to grow, I just jumped in and I even told you, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go in and clean that kitchen, not because I'm cleaning up a big mess. I'm going to clean it up because the next meal is going to be amazing. Making room.
And I bet it was.
Yes. And that was a different take on things, of cleaning up.
Yes. Well, and so do we focus on the gifts that are coming out of that cleanup, or do we focus on, I've got to plow through all of these things and figure out, throw things out, put them somewhere else, actually file them somewhere, find a place for them or get rid of them, give them away, all of that. So sometimes we just would rather not deal.
Yes, yeah. And the outcome doesn't, because if we don't know what the gifts are, a lot of us don't. Maybe we haven't sat down long enough to explore, you know what, when this mess gets cleaned up, wow, I'll be able to this, and this, or this will change. Like, I wonder how much time, or do we spend more time just like, oh, wow, that's going to be so much work and I'm going to upset this person when I do it, or it's going to be tough. I don't have the time. We talk
ourselves out of it. Yeah, we talk ourselves out of it for sure. And so the mess, if you look at it, it's a pile, it's a heap, but sometimes it's not a whole bunch of things. Maybe there's one big mess in your life, and it's like, oop, yeah, no, I'm tolerating that. I'm good with that. I'm not judging it. I'm okay with it. But it takes energy. It doesn't bring out the best in us. It doesn't raise our vibration. So there's gifts in then approaching that mess and looking at it from a different place.
Yes. And something else that was, it was in the show description. It was about the mess. It's not just one mess, and it's not even one big mess or a lot of, it gets integrated. I would love for you to, just Noemi, expand on that. Just that, what does that look like?
That is, so I'll share about a physical mess. So I had a couple years ago taken this, before I published my book, I was taking this Your Soulful book coaching program. But this lovely couple, really it was lovely. The other people in the group in that course were really wonderful and writing some amazing books. And we had to talk about our workspace, and we had to have that high vibrational space. And I remember telling the story that, well, I just have a lot of papers and stuff on my desk, and if it's in the room, I just push it onto the floor and deal with it later, and then I write. If I felt the, if the divine was speaking, and I wanted to grab it as soon as possible. But if the mess was there, I became very tolerant to the mess. It was integrated in my life. And so I did clean it up because that was part of our homework, and it felt so much better, I must say. And it wasn't really as bad as I thought, but it was maintaining it cleanly and non-messily. That is also now a new challenge. But but yes, things are integrated into our lives. We just don't realize that there's a mess until we either see it with new eyes, or we're away from it for a while, and then the mess shows up and we're like, ooh, oh.
Yes, you just brought up a great question. I'm feeling this question coming through here. Maintaining it. Once we do make space for the new growth, we have to adopt different, it's a different perception. We're seeing it differently. And so the maintaining of it actually comes from a different place than looking the other way and avoiding.
Yes.
It's
so
like,
this maybe
I care about
the time for the pre-channeled.
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
Because you mentioned new growth, and I call this one make room for new growth. Sometimes your lives can get messy. It's part of being human and being alive. Life is messy. Many of you want to control the messy aspects of your life, to beat them into submission to your will. But by nature, messes can't be controlled. And you can see this in nature. Can you control the flow of lava or even the direction of a windstorm? No, you can't. Nature offers you many examples of how to deal with the messes. Nature does not pretend a fire didn't happen, nor does it hide from it when it occurs. You too can't resist the fire. It goes and grows according to its own response to what's in its path. You should not deny the fire and bury your head in the sand. That would be a very short-lived approach. Nor should you run head on to fight it. When fire arrives, it must run its course. You cannot do anything when it rages but protect yourself. Then when the crisis is over, do you deny it occurred or deny its effects on your life? Nature recovers from the fire every time, but it takes time to restore itself and restore its balance. The fire makes way for new growth after it burns away the old and dead growth that's still lying around. The resilient trees survive the fire and even produce more seeds for a new growth to take place. You too can survive the fires in your lives and step into new growth and possibilities. You can rise like the ashes, from the ashes like the phoenix, but you also have the opportunity to clean up the messes before the fire comes through and burns everything in its path. When the forest has been cleared of the old dead growth, it's much harder for a fire to ignite and sustain itself. Clean up the old dead things in your life, and the healthy, strong aspects will survive the fire and even become stronger. Form a habit of recognizing, acknowledging, and cleaning up the old dead things in your life, whether they be relationships, behaviors, or choices that you keep repeating that don't serve you and even hurt you. Remember the aspects of your life that have grown beyond. Recognize the aspects of your life that you have grown beyond. Help the new growth by cleaning up what is old and no longer growing, but rather is stagnating or decaying. Acknowledge those dead or dying branches on the ground of your life that you keep tripping over. See them for what they are, and learn to let them go and even remove them from your lives. What is the one thing you have most avoided tending to? The big thing. At least it is the big thing in your mind. Sometimes that one thing can seem so big that it's overwhelming. Other times you feel empowered to meet it head on. But you power through it with sheer willpower, like a bulldozer knocking over the dead limbs, which does not discriminate between the dead and the new tender shoots. The landscape of your life is not meant to be littered with the dead remains of your past failures, relationships, or mistakes. You can clean up those by acknowledging their presence in your life and not minimizing them or ignoring them. Be willing to be with the mess and see it for what it is, something that doesn't serve you and actually detracts from you and may be damaging to you. Be with the mess and see it with eyes of compassion for yourself and others, for the choices you've made and the results of those choices. Be with it all from a place of acceptance. This takes practice and growth, and the opportunity for growth is always present, always available to you. The mess is here for your transformation. You can transform the landscape of your life from one that is littered with the remains of past and present failures and challenges to one in which there's plenty of room for new growth and opportunities. This starts with addressing the mess. You first must acknowledge its presence in your life and be willing to be with it and see it for what it is, something that doesn't serve and detracts from your life. Will you be of service to yourself by removing those remains of past pains? When you can be with them and see them with compassion, you will be able to see a way out of the pain, a way of transformation that leads to growth and new opportunities. And we will assist you in this process just as we assist the fire in its new growth. The forest is simply present and receptive, and growth presents itself to be received by the forest and welcomed by the fertile soil that was transformed by the fire. When you clean up your landscape of your life, fires may ignite, but they will die out quickly, and you can easily navigate the challenges they present in your life. This is a practice which takes time and dedication, yet can transform your whole life. In great love, we are complete in this transmission. Namaste.
I love that message. I feel like I read an incredible storybook,
With the fire and the forest, and it's
so many goodies.
Yeah, I love the metaphor because we've all seen that. We've all seen the results of a forest fire, So
Yes. And as we slip away to commercial break, when we do come back, there's a few standout ones in there that I would love to dive in.
Sounds good to me.
All right, when we return on Access to Angels and Grace.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
This is Kathy Beal, host of Celestial Compass, featuring astrology you can use. Celestial Compass points you to what's going on in the sky and what you can do with it down here on Earth. We also explore fun, effective, and cosmic tools for navigating this adventure we call life. Join me the first and third Monday of the month at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for Celestial Compass. It's enlightening, entertaining, and empowering.
My loves, you know you're here as a soul-led leader to transform this world through the sharing of your passions and gifts. You are here to be in your warrior of light and align your business with your highest self. I'm Rosalind Fung of the show Activate Your Soulgasmic Business. Let's elevate your business to the next expansive level. I invite you to flow into a business soul alignment discovery call with me at rosalindfung.com. That's ROSALYN, fun as in have some fun, FUNG, and let's see how I can best hold space for you to align your highest self, magnetize your dream clients, and monetize on your soul mission. I can't wait to connect.
If I could be you,
and you could be me,
for just 1 hour,
if you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind,
walk a mile in my shoes,
walk a mile in my shoes,
walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out, and for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Alrighty. Well, Noemi?
Yes.
Something that stood out to me this time, which I think I did hear it before, but it just grabbed me again, was something about the floor, like the stuff that's decaying on the floor of our forest. And,
yes.
And what happens, of course, is that when we have a mess, something that's gone on in our lives, and we don't attend to it, this is what made me think of. I love my fridge. I have a weekly visit with it for, compost and recycling garbage day. And there, I got a bag of oranges and I hadn't used them yet. And I left them. And then you know what? They got a little bit moldy, which of course they're starting to decay now. But the problem was I didn't make time to do it that week. And I was like, no, I'll grab them next week. But what happens is when you don't do something, it doesn't go away. The mess doesn't go away. And in fact, it doesn't just say, it gets worse. And then the mold spread to I had lemons in there and other fruits. And I went, no. And so I was thinking about that as you were sharing that beautiful pre-channeled message and how it doesn't just create more work, but it not ruins, but we asked the question in the show description, at what cost? When we're avoiding the messes or we don't address them, like what is that cost? Well, for me, it was the cost of all my fruits and vegetables then there, but it's the, how does that vibration really reach out and spoil the other parts of our lives?
Well, yeah, that was a really interesting example. That was a great example because it didn't stay within itself. The oranges, it then reached out to the lemons and decayed them as well. So, we may think that I've got that mess, contained here,
yes.
Contained. And I do have to admit that still there's one little, it's not mess, but it's not as neat as I would like it, corner of my office that you can't see on video. So we think it's contained, but it then spreads, right? It starts to, you pile something more on that and it gets to the next thing. But the growth of the growth, we're talking about the new growth, but then we're talking about here, you're talking about the growth of the mess, the growth of the decaying parts, that impacts the rest of your life. It's not self-contained. So I thought, that's really fascinating. Hadn't considered it that way.
Yes, and where that kind of came up, and I was like, alrighty, I think I've got the fun question. We can have you tune in and have a little chat with the divine. There is the I don't call it contamination, the spreading of whether it's if we don't address a mess and that spreads out, or how can we encourage the spreading of the new growth? Like, how is there a vibration? Is it really, do we have to clean up the mess to get in to make room for that growth? Or what is the beginning step that we can at least get that vibration turned around so that we are making new room for the growth?
Sure. That's an interesting question. And I think that on some level, if there's absolutely no room for the new growth, then it won't happen. But if you look at the forest, again, in the dead, right, you've got all those dead branches on the ground, and they've got moss on them. They've got things that are growing on them.
Micro growth.
Well, sometimes it's not so micro, but yeah. The Hoh Rainforest in Olympic National Park, Washington State. Oh, they've got this just so much, all these things on all these, what looks like they're dead trees, and there's almost like trees growing out of them. And there's so much green growing on them. So, so there is some growth. However, is that the growth we want? Do we want the moss? But I hear what you're saying in terms of like, do we have to, roll up our sleeves and say we're going to clear it all out? Or how can we start this process is the question I'm hearing from you.
Yes.
So we're looking at this mess. How do we start the process of cleaning it up and making room for the new growth?
Yes, perfect.
Thank you. I'm just writing it down to jog my memory later. Because I don't always remember everything that comes out when I'm channeling, but I remember parts of it, so at least having this as a starting point jogs my memory. So if this is the first time you're listening, welcome. And earlier I read what we call the pre-channel message, which is me sitting down with the divine before our show to start to get a starting point for the conversation. And now I'm going to channel live. I will talk to the divine and ask the question and turn it over to them. So just a little process of me getting a little bit more silent and taking a couple seconds. And I also grab a swig of water. Hello, Divine. We're so glad you're here with us, that we're not here alone, and that you can help us with this, of how to start that process of cleaning up the mess and making room for new growth. For me, especially if it feels if it feels really big, where do we go? If it feels big, it's easier to turn our back on it. But how can we move forward with something that feels big and messy, and we don't know where to start? And we are grateful for this question. You may not know where to start, but we do. And start by contacting us if you have no idea. Even say, Divine, Source, God, Jehovah, Allah, you up there, whatever name you want to call us. Look at this mess. I don't know what to do with it. It feels too overwhelming. It feels impossible. It feels hopeless, whatever it feels. And stop and ask for help. So be willing to acknowledge what it feels like. What does it feel like to be with this mess, right? When you deny it, when you avoid it, when you resist it, you're not acknowledging what it feels like to be with this mess. And so we're saying to you, start by being with the mess, being with it. What does it feel like? It may feel overwhelming. It may feel like something you want to reject and judge and resist and ignore. And it may feel like something you don't know what to do with. That is a good starting point. Be with yourself, with the mess. Be with yourself. Be yourself. Be present with the mess. See what it is like for you to be with this mess. Acknowledge that. This mess feels so big, I don't know where to turn. Or I don't think I can handle taking clear of this mess. Acknowledge what is so. Acknowledge it. You don't need to get all caught up in the mess and the emotion of the mess. And if you can be the observer, it's always helpful. Practice being the observer, as if you could step out of the movie of your life a little bit and see it as someone else would see it. Getting up, climbing the hill and looking down, metaphorically, of course, at what is happening in your life. And seeing it from those eyes that are from a distance, but can also bring in perspective and compassion and even love. And so being with yourself with the mess, and then, as we said, bringing in that perspective. Okay, it's messy. Okay, it is here. It's you feel overwhelmed. What if you had compassion for this mess? What if you had compassion for yourself and having this mess in your life? How would that seem? Would it be less overwhelming? Bringing in the ability to connect with compassion, which is always, it is, compassion is the essence of who you are in connection with each other and with the mess. It is who you are. It is the expression of who you are. Compassion is innate within all of you. And so you can see it. You can see it in very young children. You can see it in babies. You can see it in the world. Compassion is an essential your essential nature. One aspect of your essential nature is compassion. Bring compassion to the mess, and bring compassion to yourself for having the mess in your life, for sustaining that mess, maintaining that mess, having felt unable to address the mess. So you address the mess first by being with it, and then shifting your perception of it from judgment and saying, if I had compassion for myself, if I had compassion for this mess, how would it look differently? And when you can see it differently, when you can see it with a different lens, you will see also different solutions. The only solution will no longer be turn your back on the mess, pretend it doesn't exist, be angry with the mess, push against the mess. You will be able to see a path out of that mess. So start with shifting your perception and asking for our help if you can't. If you have so much judgment of yourself in the mess, help me to see this with compassion is a prayer, is a request we will always, always, always answer. And so bringing that ability that is always within you to have compassion to this, and then seeing it, and then looking at the whole picture of the mess may feel overwhelming. It's as if you could look at scanning a room. If you walked into a room and you scanned a room and your eyes went to one object and your eyes caught your attention. Catch the attention of your inner eyes on one piece of this. What can I address here? What part of this is most notable to you? So instead of trying to address the whole mess, what can you address? And that may be forgiveness, acceptance. It may also be something specific to do. It may be something like, I can clean this piece. I can clean this. I know what to do with this piece, so I'll start with this piece. And I will leave the rest because I don't know what to do, or the rest feels too big. And so you start being present with it and embracing it through eyes of compassion, and then embracing a piece of it. It doesn't have to, if you look at the whole mess, oh, I have this whole mess of my life. My whole life is a mess. Well, in that case, you can't do anything. It's too big. What little piece is calling to you? What piece is catching your attention when you look at it with compassion and eyes of love? And that will be where you can start. And there will be a piece that catches your attention. The big piece is to shift out of judgment into compassion. And we are always here to help you and assist you. In great love, we are complete. Namaste.
I love how we always come back to just come from love, come from compassion, stop the judgment. I love it. It's such a great reminder, and it's a good practice.
Oh, it's a great starting point, right? That was what they were saying. And I loved how it was find that piece, find the piece as if you walked into a room and you were scanning a new room and something caught your attention. Focus on that thing that catches your attention, that piece. And that piece may be forgiveness, they were saying, or it may be something practical to do, like acceptance, or it may be something practical that you can actually do. I can clean this piece. Yes. I know what to do with this piece. I can make that phone call, or I can
save 10%. Yes.
Yes, I was going to say, stop the subscription, which I've been doing lately. Stop the subscription to something I never read and it's costing me $79 a year. Why am I doing that? Stop it. I've been
right. Yes.
So I've had this mess of subscriptions from like decades of things. I'm like, okay, do I need this? Do I read this? So I've been actually addressing those lately. So it's really, what is that one thing that's catching your attention that you can do? It's not the thing that's catching your attention that is like, oh no, I can't. It's the thing that you can do. Let's start there.
Yes. And you brought it, I'm going to share this. I have a friend in my life, and we all probably have this friend, or maybe this is our own self, but I have a friend who just really, when she gets so overwhelmed at first, she's like, oh my gosh, I need to quit smoking. I need to stop eating garbage. I need to go exercise. I need to sleep. And I'm just like, whoa. And there's so much to it. That's a big mess. And so and there's a lot of judgment that comes up with this. I can't do this and I'll fail at that. And then, and it's so interesting as I was listening to that beautiful channeled message, one thing that I witness her experiencing is when she's in that judgment thing and she wants to talk about it, but she stopped. She wants to talk about it to ask for help, but then she gets overwhelmed. And if she stays with judgment of herself or thinking she's going to fail, then she's like, oh, let's not even talk about this. I'm not going to change anyway. So let's just move on. And it's only when when she has enough compassion for herself, it doesn't matter how much compassion I have for her. It's when she truly says, and she says, there's a reason why I got into this mess or whatever. And then she softens. And then you know what? Next thing I know, she's taking one least little thing like, I didn't have that extra cigarette before bed, or I had an apple today, and it's these very tangible little things that she feels worthy of doing because she has a little bit of that forgiveness or understanding or acceptance. But it's got to come from her, like inside.
Yeah, it's got to come from us inside, and it's that. I mean, forgiveness, I think, is often needed. There's so much judgment. If we're judging ourselves for anything, then we need to forgive. That's the opposite. That is the antithesis of the judgment, is being in that forgiveness, and of course acceptance, but which goes along with forgiveness. But being able to forgive, that subscribe to all these things. There, I was like, okay, I think I've saved like $230 a year or something so far, and it's there are not that many more to go, but just kind of just realizing that cleaning it up. I don't need this. I'm not reading this. I don't even know what this is. I don't remember subscribing to this thing. Why do I need it? And I'm even doing that with my emails, because my mailbox is. I have like 5 different Gmail accounts because they get full and I just go to another one. So
exactly.
I don't clean up the mess. And so but I'm using 3 of them now. So I've tried, 2 of them need cleaning. So I've been like unsubscribe here, unsubscribe there, even with the emails. It's nice not to get 100 emails a day. It's really nice.
And we'll leave this question with our listeners as we go to commercial break. What is it in your life that you would like to unsubscribe to? So,
that is a really good question. I never would. Yeah, I was surprised I'm talking about subscriptions. I had no intention of that.
It was perfect timing.
Yes.
What in your life would you like to unsubscribe to?
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Consistently attract soulmate clients. Begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, light workers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalind Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spot that activates your soulgasmic business by tuning in on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain. Join me for your light language activation, and let's magnetize and monetize.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Well, I'm just loving this show about the messes, and of course, I am looking around and seeing the physical messes. But there's a lot of our emotional messes, and I'm going to jump into a question that came right up that we'd love for you to just dive in with the divine here.
Okay,
and that is how. Well, the actual question I got was when judgment stops you from asking for help. And then, so I heard that, and then I need to make that a little more cleaned up. I got to clean up that one. But
clean up that.
So I actually think of when people, their messes, it's messy, and they're embarrassed. They have shame. Maybe like even with my one friend who smokes, she doesn't want to, first of all, talk to anybody, but she doesn't want to talk to people about her smoking. Like it's almost too messy for her to dive in, and her judgment is stopping her. So what about people with debt, with people who have these bad quote unquote habits that that society is also judged, and for good reason on some things, but from love and support. But when we are judging it so harshly that we can't ask for help, because that was the first thing the divine said in the other one. It says stop and ask for help. What does it feel like? And so if they stop and they say, oh my gosh, well, it feels horrendous. It feels unloving. It feels too hard, like hurtful.
Yes, I certainly have experienced that.
Yeah.
So, okay, so when we are in judgment or shame or blame or guilt about something and it feels too big.
Guilt.
Okay. Yeah. So even if someone offers the help, if someone were to come to your friend and say, oh, I have a free thing for a smoking cessation clinic or hypnosis or whatever, maybe there's too much shame. I don't know her. I'm just making this up. But sometimes we actually will, I myself have done this, dismiss an offer of help if we feel too in judgment of ourselves. Not wanting to let someone into that world, right? Your friend doesn't want to tell anybody that she smokes, because it's not the most acceptable thing these days. People judge it. So okay, when we're judging it so much,
we can't ask for help.
What's the question again?
When judgment stops us from asking for help. Or receiving
what
it.
Do we
I like
do?
how you said that too. Yeah, how do we go from there?
From asking for help or receiving it if it's offered, yeah. Right, it's that, no, I've got this, or no, I don't have time for that, oh, you're offering this help, I don't have time, I don't have, there's a story that goes with that. And
also I don't want to follow through on the help. There's somebody might show up and say, yeah, I can help you, but you're like, you just don't have the energy to follow through, or you don't want to, you're too attached to that mess, that identity that you've built around it, or the disbelief that you can succeed at cleaning it up.
Yeah. You might be in such rejection to it, but you're still attached to it. Rejection, when we resist something, we're attached to it. You can't resist something without actually connecting to it. You can't push against it. You need to push against it. You need to, somebody's trying to push the door open and you're resisting. You're attached to that thing, that person that's trying to push the door open. So resisting something attaches us to it. So I'm wondering if there's something about the attachment too. We become attached to, it's not only the judgment, but the judgment causes us to be attached to the thing that we're trying to push away.
Ooh, yes. Ooh, okay. That was deep.
Yeah. All right. I'm just taking that down because that was channeled here. Sometimes I get the one-liners. I love those. I'm in session or something and I get the one-liner channeled like this thing about judgment attaching us and somebody pushing at the door and all that. It's like, oh, I love those one-liners. But I'll dive in for a longer message. This is so much joy for me to do this. So I'm so happy for the opportunity to do this twice a month with you, Lisa. So I will get silent.
Thank you for being here.
And of course with the divine. Hello, divine again. So, I love this. So happy to be with you here. And we are happy to be with you as well. And so, divine, we have the question about judgment and attachment, and where do we go? Where do we go from there when we're judging, but we're attached and we can't find our way? Where do we go? This is an excellent question. And we're glad you heard that piece, Noemi Grace, about judgment causing attachment, because it does. And so you judge yourselves. In judging the messes in your life, you are judging yourself, because those messes are in your life. So judging of you, they are not separate from you, even though you are attached to them. They have become part of your life. They are an element of your life. And so in judging them, you judge yourself. You judge your life and you judge yourself. And self-judgment robs you of so much energy. Self-judgment steals your ability to move forward in life, to become someone who has the power to make change. In self-judgment, you steal your energy, you steal your life force. Self-judgment leaves you defeated if you judge yourself enough. And so the first thing you must do is recognize the judgment when it shows up. There I go again, judging it. It may not sound that way. You might be like, ugh, I'm judging it again. That's okay. Once you say, ugh, I'm judging it again, step back and go, I love myself anyway, or I accept myself anyway, or I appreciate myself anyway, or I want to be kind to myself anyway, even though I don't know how. Shift it. Shift your perception and your awareness out from that point of judgment to something more closer to acceptance. Even if it is, I want to not judge, that is closer to acceptance. And so recognizing that you are judging, and that judging robs you of your life force, and it can lead to paralysis in that judgment. If you have judged yourself sufficiently, and you have judged aspects of your life and people in your life, if you have been doling out judgment sufficiently, you will eventually wind up with so little life force that it can lead to a paralysis. A paralysis when it comes to doing something new. An inability, the inertia becomes huge. You have this growth of inertia. And so start by recognizing you are in judgment, and also recognizing that that judgment is attaching you to the thing that you're judging, and therefore making it that much harder. You're dragging it like the ball and chain. It makes it that much harder for you to shift out of that, to change from that, to make a change. And so start by recognizing the judgment, and then choose that you would not want to be in judgment. I am judging this thing. I am angry with this thing. I am angry with myself, but this is not how I want to be. I do not want to be a person who is going through life angry with myself. Start to choose in the direction of acceptance and in the direction of forgiveness. Maybe forgiveness seems too far away and too big, but choose in the direction. Shift your perception in that direction, and see yourself as someone who is struggling, as someone who was doing the best that they could in the circumstance, was doing the best after so long of maintaining this dynamic in your life, which you might call a mess. We call it a dynamic. And so you've been maintaining this dynamic for so long that it has robbed you of your life force. And so see yourself as someone who didn't have the strength that you used to have, but someone who can still regain that strength because it is available. Start to see yourself as more than the mess, as more than the messes in your life, as more than the things that you feel badly about, that you judge, that you feel guilty about, that you feel shame, that you have all this negative affect towards. Start to see yourself as much bigger than that. These are things that you have attached to, and they have attached to you. And you can free yourself of all of them. It may not be as simple as 1, 2, 3. Sometimes it is. But you can start with shifting the judgment, because that has now robbed you of that life force and left you with some level of paralysis, partial paralysis, so you don't have the ability to make all the shifts that you could normally make, could have made without all of that judgment, without all of that blame, without all of that guilt and shame. Recognize that those are with you right now, but this does not have to be your reality. All of this does not have to be a reality forever. It is where you are now. Acknowledge that. Accept it. And take your perception and put it towards the direction of acceptance and forgiveness and freedom. And so, in that ability to shift, in that ability to recognize that you have judged yourself so harshly, and in that judgment you have limited yourself, and in that ability of recognizing that, and in that moment where you have such an inkling, a small inkling of not wanting to do it anymore, or not wanting to do it as much, shift your perception. And of course, we always come back to this: ask for help. We are here to help. Our help is infinitely powerful. And so no matter how messed up you think you are, or how messed up you think your life is, none of that is too big for us. It is all something that we can help you shift and detach from with ease, with grace, and with presence. We are so grateful for this time. We love you so much. We are complete. Namaste.
I loved how they brought up messed up. Oh, that was great. No matter how much you think you're messed up or your life is messed up, and I went, oh, what a perfect, that's really mainstream, verbiage there. I love that. So one of my favorite takeaways there, absolutely love this, is start to choose in the direction of self-acceptance. And even if it's, I want to not judge, that's closer.
Yes, I love that. I love that, right? Because you feel, I have felt so overwhelmed with judgment, self-judgment before, and it's just, in that moment of, I don't want to live this, I don't want to be judging myself this harshly, is enough to, start to shift yourself in the direction of forgiveness and acceptance and compassion, in that direction. It might be way down the road, but so I felt that was really empowering, because sometimes it's like, I can't forgive myself for this, or I can't forgive that person, but a lot of times it's, I can't forgive myself for this, and so it's I can't forgive myself for I've gotten into this mess, and it's shift your perception in the direction of that forgiveness and acceptance and compassion. It's beautiful.
Yes. That is absolutely beautiful, and you can, like you said, it's very empowering. You can feel the shift that it removes that paralysis that we were talking about with the attachment, and judgment does rob us of our life force, because it requires so much energy to keep that up. And I love that turnaround there was. You just look at it and you judge it so harshly that you just can't do anything. But there you go. You just have that tiny little opening just to say, just start to shift that direction. That is the best. That is the most wonderful answer. I so appreciate that guidance.
Yes. Just shifting in the direction. They've never quite worded it that way before. I mean, they talk about change the lens and change your perception and all of that, which is so important, but just shifting in the direction. If that's all you can do, shift your awareness, shift your perception in the direction of compassion, acceptance, forgiveness, kindness, whatever it is that you're not being to yourself and that you really would want to be. So
it does allow you to explore the reasons, even perhaps just as you clean up a mess, because we didn't go through any steps of cleaning the mess up. But what I can immediately right now, I just kind of ran through it in my head, like, looking down and thinking, wow, I've gained weight. I ate that thing. I ate the thing because this was going on. And now you're like, well, wait, that thing was going on. And yeah, that thing was going on. Like, not to let yourself off the hook completely, but you know what I mean? It's just shifting into that direction and understanding how your life took that turn and what made you make those decisions and take that action and then still love it.
Yes. No, that is really helpful. And I got the sense with this channeled message that even without being able to do that, we can still shift our perception in that direction that's going to lead to awareness. Maybe we don't have the awareness right now, but we can shift it in the perception, in the direction of that by I don't want to be living unconsciously. I don't want to be on autopilot. I don't want to keep making these same choices without being aware. I want to have awareness. And so it's like shifting just in the I want something else. You can shift your perception in that direction of the thing that you want.
I love that. And awareness was the key. Thank you for that highlight. All right. We hope this show has helped everybody in the messages, and we'll be posting the replays over on the Facebook page and everything. You can always hear it on OMTimes Radio and all their channels. But Noemi, thank you for showing up to help us clean up these messes.
Thank you, Lisa, for elevating the conversation and all that good stuff that you do, because it really, they talked about dynamic. I like that they said you call it a mess, we call it a dynamic. And I love the dynamic in the show. It really fills me up, and I feel like we're really being of service. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for listening.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.